what was your main takeaway, Max? Let's start with you.
Man, I mean, I think we got to talk about I guess, do we start with the second half? I guess. I mean, that's ultimately what we'll remember, right? Extra sloppy in the first half overall, but I'm just so impressed by what Mike Norvell has done at Florida State. I think that second half really reflected the upside of Florida State. This is a staff that, it's not easy nowadays, right? People don't have a lot of patience. I think this coaching staff lost 10 of their first 13 games in Tallahassee, and people were very, very ready to treat this as questionable and hot seat and all that kind of stuff. But look what they built. I mean, I just think the talent acquisition, both in high school recruiting and especially in the transfer portal, really showed up on Sunday night, just in terms of like how talented that team is, how talented their lineup is on both sides now. And, really it's this latest portal haul, Keon Coleman, Jaheim Bell, Braden Fiske, like all these dudes all over the field. Like, they've got some players. And I know, Ari, you look at the team talent composite and are very intrigued by what does that really say about Florida State. Usually that where they're at in terms of blue chip ratio doesn't really equate to playoff team, national championship contender. But you watch them line up against what we think is going to be a very good SEC team. They've got dudes now.
Well, let me tell you, before we get to you, Dave, after the show's over, the thing that I'm going to do immediately after is write a column about how this is the first time that a team ranked in this general area in the 247 Sport composite ranking. This is the first time I've ever thought they could legitimately win the national championship after watching them play last night. And I think that following this team, tracking what they're capable of doing, is going to be an interesting litmus test as we continue to rethink what those rankings mean in the transfer portal era. Like, this team, the way that they played, and again, week one, if you think I'm crazy, please tell me before I do this and humiliate myself. But the physicality in which they played with, the fact that they were able to completely emotionally and mentally break LSU in that second half. It was a thorough ass kicking, and LSU lied down.
And I didn't mention, let me just not forget to mention, guys, Jordan Travis. Like, he's such a delight to watch. I feel like if I was a Florida State fan, I would find him a little bit terrifying, because that guy will run through anybody. Like, he will put himself in any kind of danger to go get a first down, go get a score.
But was it?
But I mean, when it was humming, when it was clicking, and like you saw the stuff at the goal line with the way he improvised on the read option stuff, like that kid, when he is good, it is really damn good.
Was it just me, guys, or did it feel like they were just hitting hard and playing hard and flying to the football? And I mean, LSU in the first half too. I mean, it did. To me, it just seemed like a high-level football game, despite the fact there were a lot of mistakes in the first half, weird turnovers, dumb penalties, late hits, goal line stands, all that stuff. But that's what you expect in week one. But I thought that the way that those two played the game in the second half, especially Florida State, obviously, because they broke LSU's will. I really do believe that, that they could play on the same field as a Georgia or an Alabama at that level. Now, the thing that I think will be interesting as we continue to go on into the season is that because Florida State hasn't been recruiting at a high enough level, and when I say high enough, I mean comparable to Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson, those teams, they might have less ability to sustain bad injuries as some of the better teams would. I think they have to stay healthy, but I think that in terms of their all 22, they're starting 22 players, that they are probably as physical. I mean, we didn't even talk about Jared Verse. He's one of the best defensive linemen in the country and probably should be in the NFL right now. I think that stacks up with anybody in the country. Offensive skill talents off the board. Jordan Travis is a star. Jared Verse on defense, and just the physicality that this team played with. It's like, I don't think how you could watch this game and not be like, holy crap, Florida State's legitimately awesome this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately one quarterback continued the growth that we saw from last year, and one did not. The Jaden Daniels we saw looked a lot like the Jaden Daniels we saw in week one. A little bit of happy feet, a little bit of eyes dropping when the rush got in there, a little bit panicky, and pretty inaccurate. He grew up a lot in the last month of the season, and it looked like in week one, and I think part of this is a credit to Florida State and their pass rush and some of the hits that he took as well, but he looked like he regressed a little bit, and maybe he could snap out of it. But we did not see him continue that growth, whereas Jordan Travis looked even better than he did last year when he looked really great last year.
Dave, I'm not going to get through the first segment without bringing this up. I'm sorry, Max. You're with me on this, right?
Can I preface this by saying that I was also one of the 2 people on our staff who picked Florida State to the playoff? But continue.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, you don't get to get out of a crap take because the other take that you had happens to look good. No, I'm just kidding with you. But like, you thought that LSU was the favorite to win the SEC when you looked at the roster this year.
SEC West.
SEC West. We have like 5 or 6 1-star reviews because of your Alabama takes. When you watch those 2 teams play this week, do you still think that? Like, can you like?
This is what I was thinking during the game. Let me put it this way, Ari. As I'm watching that game, I'm like, there was an argument for LSU being the best team in the country this year. I don't remember what that argument was.
Yeah, what was the argument?
It was dudes everywhere. It was very simple. Listen, I think
there were dudes nowhere in the second half, though, pal.
Well, here's the thing. LSU does have dudes everywhere, but it doesn't do a whole lot if you misuse said dudes, right? We have Harold Perkins rushing the passer 7 times on the night and spending most of it standing there staring at Jordan Travis and spying, not doing the thing he did best. That's a bit like making sure that you get as many low post touches for Steph Curry as you possibly can. Makes no sense. You are playing without Mason Smith, who might be one of the 5 best defensive linemen in the country. Mm-hmm. Listen, last night was embarrassing for LSU. I do agree with you, Ari. I think they broke in the second half, but that tells me 2 things. One, this is still a really good team, and they're not 21 points worse than Florida State. And if there's improvement there, I think you're going to get a motivated team. I'm holding on to my LSU stock, so we can revisit this show later. I think if Jaden Daniels can get a little bit less happy feet, they can get a little bit more development at receiver. You get Mason Smith back. Can we stop doing whatever they're trying to do with Harold Perkins and let the man go chase quarterbacks?
Yeah, Harold Perkins rushed the quarterback 10 times.
Coaching malpractice. Yeah. It's insane. It's insane.
Nobody had a better seat for that game than Harold Perkins. He just got to stand right in the middle of the field and watch all of it.
Yeah, I hope somebody asked him about Jordan Travis on Sunday night and how awesome he looked, because he had a lot of time to sit and stare at him. It's just, I still think LSU is a very good team. I still think they're probably the best roster in the West. I'm not going to back off of LSU. I think Florida State's really good. I just think you got to do some different things. And I think that if you can not get broken, you can still hang. So, listen,
well, for them to win the national championship now, they have to run the table now. They can't lose again. Because if they lose twice and they have this blowout loss on their resume, there's no way that's going to be the first 2-loss team to make the playoff. And I'm wondering, too, you said about Jaden Daniels and his happy feet, and we kind of used his star ability, or the ability for him to become a star as a reasoning for him to for LSU to potentially win a national title this year. Are we even sure he's the starting quarterback in a month?
But here's the problem.
That's a fair question.
You have to. Okay, Jaden Daniels is the run game for LSU. I mean, their running backs combined for 12 carries last night, and I know there was like 2 explosives, but otherwise those guys didn't do much. Obviously, you don't have John Emery, you didn't have Logan Diggs. Like, that part you got to figure out, because if you put in Garrett Nussmeier, you have no run game.
And let's also listen. I know everybody's going to bag on LSU. Let's also not forget that they had 2 trips inside the 10 where they got 0 points out of it. So, like, this is don't get me wrong. What they did in the second half, they got outscored 38-3 over like a 20-minute window, right? It's bad. But like, LSU is better than they looked last night. So like, I know everybody's going to jump off the LSU bandwagon, but you can get some things corrected. Stop doing whatever they're doing with Harold Perkins. That is number one. That's insane.
I didn't feel his presence on the field last night, and that's a shame, because he's the best.
Neither did Jordan Travis, and that's the problem. No. Like, that's it's wild to me. Like, Brad Kelly after the game talking about, last year he was see ball, get ball. We wanted to, he's learning a new position. What are we doing? He was probably, one of the 3 best defensive players in the country last season. There was a case for him as the best in the country coming into this year, and you're taking him out of doing the thing that he does best. And it doesn't make any sense. I don't know what the motivation is. Like, pass rushers are the most valuable defenders in the NFL. So what do you want to have an off-ball linebacker, a middle linebacker sitting there spying a quarterback? A lot of people can spy. And it's not like Jordan Travis is a track star either, right? So, like, he can move, but, like, I'm sure there's plenty of linebackers on LSU's roster.
I will give you this,
who
Dave.
can spy
I think that
effectively.
This thought process of, and I'm sure this is probably your preseason process, but Mekhi Wingo, Mason Smith, and Harold Perkins all like hitting on all cylinders.
Wingo looked awesome last night for the record.
I mean, Wingo, well, in the first half, I don't know what happened in the second. Like I honestly don't recall LSU making a play in the second half. Which is maybe that's a testament to how good Florida State is. But now I'm very curious too if Florida State can go through the ACC, not drop some of those weird Texas-like games that they've lost the past few years, and beat Clemson. But I think that the biggest takeaway here isn't so much on or off LSU's bandwagon. It's more so like, how good do you think Florida State is? And I'm on record here saying that I underestimated this team. And I wonder if this is going to be the blueprint or the masterclass of how to build a program in 2026 when you look back at it.
I thought they're a playoff team. We'll see what Clemson does tonight, but I thought they're a playoff team coming into the season.
Florida State, if you had to pick a number today, did they win 9 games, 10 games, or 11 games in the regular season?
11.
Wow. We are all the way on them.
Well, the thing
I've been all the way on them. I love them. Again, it's a dudes everywhere situation. You look at their receivers, you look at Jordan Travis, you look at Jordan Verse. They got guys all over the place. And Clemson's the only team I think they're going to play other than LSU that's on their level. So I would have said 10 or 11.
Said the name Clemson's Keon Coleman yet on this podcast? Because I can't.
I mean,
get without it. Yeah.
I mean, that dude, the jump ball king. This is insane.
Yeah, it's going to be a good season to track for sure. I'm looking at Florida State's schedule here, guys. They play at Clemson in like 3 weeks, which is great. It's like early on in the year, and then like the rest of their schedule is Va Tech, Syracuse, Duke, Wake, Pitt, Miami, North Alabama, and Florida. It's like that Florida game is always interesting, but they are double-digit favorites in every single game after the Clemson game.
Yeah.
So, if they don't make 11 or don't win 11, then something went wrong there. The hope is, as always with every college team, that they stay healthy and as explosive as that. But I thought that it wasn't just how many points they won by. I thought it was the physicality in which they played, the athleticism that was oozing off the television screen, and how they made a team that is deep and talented as LSU just completely snap. Like that, to me, it's not just winning. It just feels like completely different than last year's game.